Right, so welcome back, everyone. So joining us live on set now is head of the Clico Policyholders Group, Peter Pomel, to discuss some issues of concern to him regarding the National Investment Fund Holding Company Limited, which is expected to be redeeming the $1.2 billion principal on its Series A bond today. Good morning, Mr. Pomel.
Hi, good morning, Marlon, and good morning to Trinidad and Tobago. You would have seen in an advertisement in today's newspaper in the Express.
Yes, of course.
Indicating that the $1.2 billion tranche in terms of the government, the NIF bonds, matured and they're being redeemed today. Now, from the onset, I wish to commend the NIF and by extension the Minister of Finance and the government for having implemented the National Investment Fund, because I think it was an excellent initiative in order to protect, or I should say to ring fence the assets of Clico, the assets that they received from the Clico situation where the government had to be repaid the billions of dollars that it was owed. So you had a situation where you had several shares, the Republic Bank shares, you had Angostura shares, you had Whitco shares, and so on, and they were put into this fund, and to the tune of about $8 billion. The fund was about $8 billion. And what they did is they borrowed against the $8 billion by floating a bond for $4 billion. And that bond was broken up into three tranches. The first tranche was the A series, which was for 5 years, and it carried a coupon on interest rate of about 4.5%. And what happened is that the public of Trinidad and Tobago was invited to subscribe to that bond. According to the Minister of Finance, it was heavily oversubscribed. The entire three series, they were entirely oversubscribed, I think to the tune of about $100 million. And what happened is that the point is that the government, the policy, the general government policy is to ensure the widest possible participation in terms of any assets that the government may own and so that citizens could benefit from. So that's what I'm saying. I laud them for that initiative. But the problem we have here, and my concern here or my disappointment here, is that now that series has matured and is now being redeemed, I'm not seeing any investment instrument or any opportunity being presented to the public in order for them to benefit from the cash flows from that, from the assets of the Clico assets via the NIF, the National Investment Fund.
From the initial investment?
Well, the assets, remember, as I told you, the assets were put into this fund, and those assets generate cash flows over time. And these cash flows these cash flows are used to pay back the bondholders. So the bond is really a loan that the public is giving to the government, the NIF. And then the NIF in turn uses those cash flows at the end of the period, the tenor, to pay back those members of the public who would have invested. And what is happening now is, what is going to happen is that those investors are going to be repaid their money, and that's fine. But they have no opportunity, or the NIF has not presented them with any opportunity to continue to benefit from the cash flows that flow from that from the assets.
The question is, though, is that government's responsibility to keep on investing, or is it the shareholders' responsibility to invest?
Well, we have to go back to what was the original intention of the NIF, and according to what the minister has said, is that they wanted to protect these assets. You remember at the time when these assets were becoming available, the sentiment in the public was that somehow these assets are going to be sold in a fire sale. They're going to be sold at an undervalue to friends and financiers of the people in charge. And therefore, in response to that, the NIF came about. So what they said is that, look, we are not going to sell or dispose of these assets. These assets were the crown jewels of the Clico empire. You understand what I'm saying? And what we're going to do is take these assets, bundle them into a fund, and we are going to make the profits or the cash flows that these assets would generate available to the public via these bonds that were issued. So what I'm saying is that was the original intention, and I hope that it still is the intention of the government, to ensure that the public, the widest possible participation by the public to benefit from the cash flows of these investments. But what has happened, and that is why I said I'm being disappointed. What I got wind of is that there's a bond I shouldn't say a bond. There's a term sheet that is in circulation, but it is for a select group of people. It's what's called a private placement. So a small group of people will now be able to subscribe to these bonds that are now going to be issued. You follow? And this is and maybe I could just go through some of the terms of the term sheet, so to speak.
Yes.
So that the public would be aware of what I'm talking about. So you have this term sheet, and it talks about the issuer being the National Investment Fund Holding Company, and the currency TT dollars is a fixed rate bond, and the purpose is to refinance Series A of the NIF bonds maturing in August 2020. That's the same bonds we are talking about that have matured and are being redeemed. And it is the arranger is the First Citizens Bank. The issue size is $1.2 billion. The interest rate, and this is very important, the interest rate is 7.10%. Remember, I told you the initial bonds were at 4.50%.
So this is at a higher rate?
Much higher rate, at 7.10. However, the tenor or the duration of the bond is for 17 years, so that it's a longer period. But the thing is, that is a decision that the NIF took. They could have broken up those bonds into smaller denominations, into shorter tenors. You follow? So it all depends on how you want to structure the bond. But what I'm saying is, whatever you do, you should do something that would ensure that the public, or the widest possible participation of the public, is ensured. Initially, too, the denominations of the bond was $1,000. So the smallest guy could benefit. The snow cone man, the doubles man, he could have bought $1,000 worth of bonds, and he would have gotten 4.5% interest over 5 years. He gets paid interest twice for the year, and that sort of thing. So this same $1.2 billion, you already have people who have subscribed to that, investors who have subscribed to the bond. I think, based on what the minister said, it was over 7,500 people who would have subscribed to the bonds. What I'm saying is, why not make this new bond, or a bond, structure a bond, to ensure that those same people and others who may be interested are able to benefit from the cash flows of these assets via this bond? Why is that not happening?
So this new bond that we are speaking about,
yes,
this is something that you can confirm that it is to come?
Yes.
It is something that is in the works?
Yes, I can see that without fear of contradiction. Because, as I said, this is a term sheet, and what you do whenever you're going to issue a bond, you advise the potential investors via what is known as a term sheet. And this has the terms and conditions of the issue of the bond. Now, one of the things they say on the term sheet, just to make my point, is that the security would be the collateral charge with the Series A, B, and C, including a shared charge over the basket of shares, including the following shares, which is the Republic Bank, the One Caribbean Media, which is your parent company, Angostura Holdings, West Indian Tobacco, Trinidad Generation, which is TGU. That wasn't an asset that they got from Clico, but that's an asset that they put in. But what was really troubling is that they said that the contents of this term sheet are confidential and may not be disclosed to third parties. So in other words, I only was able to get hold of it because some kind soul decided to send it to me to make me aware of what is going on. So all I'm saying is, this morning I am appealing to because one of the things they said on the term sheet is TBD when it's coming into effect, which is to be decided. I'm not sure whether they have already put things in place and it has already been issued. I'm not sure, but I'm using the opportunity this morning to appeal to the finance minister in his capacity as corporation sole to probably see what he can do to change this position. In other words, can you now look at restructuring this whole situation?
But let's look at the propriety of this.
Yes, sure.
Could this be done?
Could what be done, sorry?
From what is being proposed here?
Yes, of course. The Minister of Finance, in his capacity as corporation sole, he is the sole, the government is the sole shareholder of this company called the National Investment Fund Holding Company Limited. And they have a board in place. So they have appointed a board to manage the affairs of this company. And they are the ones who take these decisions. But obviously, with the blessings or approval of the Minister of Finance, they can't do anything I doubt they would have done this without the minister's approval or being aware of it. But the point is, I'm saying that I don't know. I don't know if there's still time to change course, but I'm saying the objective should always be the widest possible participation of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. So if you already had an existing an investment in the bond, you can roll that over. They can provide a product or an instrument where you could roll that into. So it's not like if they have to go looking for investors. And even if some of those investors do not want to roll over that investment, and you open it up to the public, and people who are interested in this type of arrangement can come forward and say, yes, I want to subscribe to the bond. And you have to understand that right now we're in a situation where there are not many investment opportunities that carry very little risk. This investment carries very little risk for two reasons. One, the soundness of the underlying assets, which is the Republic Bank, Whitco, and so on, but also the fact that the government is the sole shareholder. The government has an indirect responsibility to ensure that this entity does not fail and that they're able to pay people their money when these bonds mature. So it's a kind of double guarantee you have if you invest in this type of an instrument. Whereas, once the government is involved and they are the sole shareholder, they ultimately will be responsible.
I get the feeling that you're also saying that like wool has been pulled over the public's eyes in connection with this transaction.
I don't want to go so far as say wool has been pulled over. I think whoever advised the minister on this course of action, because remember, I don't think the minister is advising himself. He obviously has people who are advising him on the course of action to take these bonds are maturing on the 9th, which is today, of August, and they needed to do something in order to redeem the existing bonds and put some new instruments in place so that the government has the benefit of this money that is going to come in.
And the reason why I made that statement, it is because it is based on what you are saying, that you feel that the wider public needs to benefit from this.
Sure.
And you're saying that only a small group would be benefiting from this.
That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. That is absolutely correct. And I'm saying that as a government, that cannot be a good principle. Your good policy position. And I don't think it's the government's policy position, because they have articulated publicly that their policy position is to have the widest possible participation whenever assets or investment opportunities like these become available. And I'm saying, why the deviation now in terms of this particular situation? Why are you deviating? Is it that you got bad advice? Is it that you felt that the public would not be interested in this type of investment? I'm saying you have to give them the opportunity to say whether they're interested or not. That's the bottom line.
But you don't believe it's a fait accompli?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm hoping that the minister is listening this morning and he probably speaks with his team, the board of the NIF, to find out where they are in the whole process. Is this a fait accompli, as you put it, or is there still an opportunity to change course and make these bonds available, if not in the same way that it's structured, restructure the whole thing to make sure that the public, the widest participation of the public. I think that is what I think everybody would be happy if that is the case, because as I said, people are looking for investment opportunities, even in a situation like this. Let's say some of you may say, well, 17 years is a long time. If you had a child, let's say 18 years old, and you're putting aside an investment for their education, if you buy a bond like this, you're getting 7.10% interest over 17 years. By the time, let's say the child was 20. The young person is 20. Mm-hmm. That is what, 38 years old? You are now going to benefit from all that interest over those years that you can now pool to have that money available. I don't know if you know of any investments, Marlon, that paying you 7.10%. If you do, please tell me so I can put some money in it. Because this is a very attractive...
I think I want you to tell me.
This is a very attractive investment.
Yes.
I'm sure a number of people will be looking at would be more... But I'm sure the point you're making is a lot of people are not aware of it. That is the problem. So not only are they not aware, they cannot participate in it based on what I'm seeing so far. And I'm saying, now that I'm making everybody aware, because that's what is happening now, I'm hoping that the Minister of Finance will now look at the situation again and say, wait now, maybe I got bad advice. Maybe we should have really considered opening this thing up. And that is what I'm hoping. If I can achieve that this morning, I will be a happy camper. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I really would like them to take another look at it and see if it can be opened up to the public so people can decide whether I want to participate or I don't want to participate.
Do you know, I don't know if the document tells you that, when exactly this should kick in?
Well, as I said, it says TB, to be decided, TBD. So I don't know. To be decided means a month from now, a week from now, you know what I mean? So I'm saying I don't have a specific date when this is going to take effect based on the term sheet that I got. I'm saying if it has not yet taken effect, I'm sure there's an opportunity to change course. You know what I mean? Because it's not a fait accompli. There's no commitment to whoever to issue these bonds to them. You follow? And the government can decide, well, look, we have decided to change our position and we are now opening it up. It doesn't mean that those persons who are going to be offered are not going to be able to access or participate in the issue. It just means it's going to be for a wider cross-section of people who will now be able to participate. So there should be no disadvantage then to, let's say, this select group that we're going to be offered these bonds. They are not going to be at any disadvantage, except that they are going to be competing with the wider public.
And getting back to the document again, it is not a recommendation. You believe it is a decision that has been taken.
Yes, it is a decision. It's a term sheet that has been issued by the First Citizens Bank. But I said it's not. Everybody can't get access to this. This is for the select group of investors that they are targeting to take up these bonds. And I'm saying, if I'm wrong, well, I'm sure the minister will tell me that I'm wrong.
I'm sure he will.
What I mean? But I think my source of the information is reliable. The document that I have in front of me is an authentic document.
It was dropped off in your mailbox.
In my mailbox, in my proverbial mailbox.
If something like this is put on the open market,
yes, how
much people are expected to benefit from this?
Well, I think we have about, how many adults in Trinidad and Tobago? Maybe about 500,000 adults. So it means that anybody can benefit. It's up to you to make that decision. You know what I mean? To invest. And I think it's also up to the government to espouse the virtues of an investment like this. It's not my responsibility to do that, because I am sure, I mean, if they can have an education program, they can have advertisements indicating how, in fact, they did that the last time when they issued those bonds. There were several advertisements in the newspaper talking about securing your future and, all the usual marketing talk. But that is real, because this type of investment is a solid investment. I can say that, you know what I mean, without fear of contradiction. You're talking about these assets, the underlying assets. Republic Bank, they just declared $1.something billion at the half year. You have OCM, which is I don't have to tell you about OCM. So, Whitco and so on. So I'm saying I'm not seeing a downside to opening up this to the public and allowing people to decide for themselves whether they want to. Obviously, go and get your advice. Go to your financial advisor, your legal advisor, before you make any investment. That would be the advice I would give anybody. Do not just go and take away money and say, oh, this song ain't good, and you put your money. Get your advice, assess the thing, and then you decide whether. But right now, you're not in a position to do that, because this information is not available to you. So that, and even if it was, it is restricted to a select group of investors, potential investors.
But you believe if government pursues this route, as they are going concerning this initiative here, that it sends the wrong message to the public?
It definitely sends the wrong message. I mean, as I said, any government, the policy position should always. Remember, the government is acting on behalf of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So their interest is the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So if you got assets as a result of a bailout situation, and these assets are generating significant cash flows, and you can now take that and bundle it and put it into an instrument called a NIF bond. Why would you not want to give everybody an opportunity to invest in it. Why would you not want to do that? That is a no-brainer, Marlon. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, and what you do is you allow people to speculate as to why you're not doing that. And I'm saying I am not going to speculate. I am just saying that there's a possibility that they were ill-advised, particularly from a public policy perspective. That's where I am.
Yes.
In terms of moving in this direction, and I'm saying there may be, I don't know, maybe still time to change course. I would be very happy if that occurs, and I'm hoping that the minister will take on board what I'm saying and take another look at the situation.
All right. We just have about a few seconds again, Mr. Purmell. Anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I just want to say that investors need to be careful when they're making investments. Always seek good advice from trusted sources, and try to optimize the returns on your investment, on your money. Because in this environment, you have inflation, you have all kinds of things that erode the buying power of your dollar, and you really always need something now to help with that situation. And in closing, Marlon, I just want to say I understand that you've been deemed the public national treasure. I understand you've been deemed
the national treasure.
So the national treasure will also advocate for that sort of thing.
Mr. Purmell, it's always a pleasure speaking with you. And on a number of occasions, he spoke about this morning about the healthy financial state of OCM. So when the document gets to your mailbox, send it over to me. Good morning, OCM. But thank you very much, Mr. Purmell.
You're welcome. You're very welcome.
So we are going to a very short break, but we do have this image.